All right, so we are going to be reading chapters 32 through 34 today. And chapter 32 is titled Screen Time. The day has been pretty good, and it just keeps coming. When I get outside, Mom and Travis are waiting for me in the car. We're going to head over to a friend's house to use their computer to Skype with your dad, my mom says. We're all missing him so much, so I thought it would be good. The screen flickers at first, but then there he is, in his tan fatigues. Daddy, I say, not able to hold it in and sounding like a little kid. Allybug, you're so big. How are you, sweetheart? I'm good, Daddy. How are you? I'm good, but I'm homesick. I sure missed you guys. I think how there's a word for him missing home, but not a word for us missing him. He holds up some of my pictures. I love the pictures you sent. I hang them up around my bunk. The other guys are jealous. He winks. I can tell that Mom wants to cry, but she doesn't. She says that being a soldier's wife means being strong for him. She doesn't want him to know how hard it is without him here. He has enough to worry about over there. I sometimes wish she would tell him. I sometimes wonder if he would come home if he knew. Good, Daddy. I miss you so much. I miss you too, honey. You know I do. How are things? More silver dollar days or wooden nickels? Some of each, I think, but more silver dollar days lately. My teacher is cool. He is, and I can't even find the words to explain it. Great. That's terrific, sweetheart. And I have two friends, Keisha and Albert. Keisha likes to bake, and she's brave. You'd like your daddy. And Albert is like a computer. He's so smart. He's a little nuts, though. He's been telling us how he loves all the standardized testing. He actually thinks it's fun. Fun? Testing? He sounds like a different kind of guy. He is. And there's a girl named Shay at school who isn't very nice to me. I feel rushed, like I have to get everything in fast. Well, you'll always run into people like that. You can hold your own, though, I bet. Mom pats me on the back. Have to give Travis some time, honey. Okay. And I watch a movie of myself being strong and saying goodbye and not crying. But I want to be able to step through that screen and wrap my arms around my dad. It feels like a part of us is all missing, and we won't be whole again until he's home. Hey, Dad says, remember, Allybug, I love you. There isn't anything in the world I love more than you, your brother, and your mom. I nod. Travis sits down next. Hey, son, how are the big plans coming? Not so great. What's going on? Nothing, Travis says. Come on, maybe I can help. Travis glances at Mom and me. Well, this new manager came in at the garage. The old guy used to let me do my thing, you know. But this one hangs over me, always asking me to follow the specs in the manuals. If I do something, he wants to know what page I looked it up on. I know how to work on different cars. I don't need to look it up. My dad takes a long, slow breath. Well, that does sound rough. Have you tried talking to the guy? Or having him talk to the old boss? The old boss is out with back surgery for a while. Travis shakes his head. This new guy? He just doesn't get me. His voice cracks. My father leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He now looks like he wants to crawl through the screen. You'll get there. I know you will. And this is temporary. Just try to work hard and learn everything you can. Travis nods but looks at the floor. I hear him mumble. There are some things I just can't learn. I'm proud of you, Trav. You know that. He clears his throat. I'm sorry I'm not there with you. Yeah. Travis looks up at the screen. Love you, Dad. Love you too, son. Hang in there. It'll get better. Travis nods. But I can tell he isn't buying it. Then he stands. Come on, Squirt. Let's give Mom and Dad some time. Why? He pulls me over. So they can talk mushy in private, that's why. We sit down at the kitchen table and Mom's friend gives us sodas. Travis cracks his open and takes a deep breath. What? I'm just so frustrated, Al. There's so much I want to do, but I want to help him. Maybe we could head out to some junkyards like we used to and see if we can find something worth fixing up. Maybe. I'd love to find another old Coke machine or something in someone's barn. Buy it cheap and fix it up on my own. He looks at me. You know I can turn almost anything around for some good money. The words are the same, but they are heavy. There are no wiggling fingers or talk of being a genius, and my big brother looks so serious. I know you'll have Nickerson Restoration someday, Travis, and it will be part mine because of the name, right? He turns back and laughs, but it isn't real. He spends the rest of the time looking out the window, and I rack my brain trying to figure out what I can do. Mom calls us back to say goodbye. Dad puts his hand on the screen. All three of us put our hands on the screen too. Just as he flickers away, Mom leans over and leaves a lipstick kiss on the glass. Then she rests her forehead there and stays a while. Chapter 33. Possibilities. Working with Mr. Daniels gets easier because I am happy, but the work is really hard for me. He has written cat on the board, and we talk about the sounds. I can only hear one sound, cat, but he says that the word cat has 3 separate sounds. It feels like he's telling me the sky is yellow. As I say each of the sounds, he has me tap them out on my fingers. It does seem to help. It forces me to make them separately, even though they are all one word. But it's a tiny word, and I worry what I'll do about whole books. Will I ever be able to do this? When we are all done for the day, he leans back in his chair like Travis would. So, you're doing great, Allie. You really are. How are you feeling about all this? I'm actually happy to do this extra work, and I never thought I'd ever say something like that. He smiles. Good, I'm glad. But, yeah. I guess I still wonder if I'll ever be able to read the same as the other kids and be normal and not have to have all this extra help. It seems impossible. He becomes serious. Then he takes out a piece of plain paper and pulls the cap off a marker with his teeth. He begins to write, impossible. Do you know what this says? Remember to break it into chunks. This is a long one, though, isn't it? I nod, trying to sound it out. Important? No, but that's a good try. It says impossible, like you just said. You told me you think it seems impossible to read as well as everyone else. Yeah, I say, wondering why he had to write it down for me. It's not like I need a reminder. Then he draws a red line between the M and the P and hands it to me. Impossible. I want you to rip the paper in 2 pieces, right where that line is. I do. So now, Allie, that big piece of paper in your hand says possible. There's no impossible anymore. Okay? I swallow and look down at it, and I feel a little dizzy. The way he says it makes me feel like it could actually be true. Now, throw that little piece with the I am on it in the trash. It's gone forever. I walk over to the garbage and drop it in. Watch it twist and spin as it falls. I look up and lock eyes with him and wish I had the words to tell him how grateful I am for his helping me. In this world of words, sometimes they just can't say everything. All right, then, he nods. You head home. I have some homework to do, or I'll lose my recess. Okay, I laugh, but I'm still thinking of the word on the paper. Thanks, I say, looking down at it. My pleasure, he replies, and takes a folder out of his briefcase. I stare at the word Posssible all the way down the hallway. I study the red color. I draw my fingers over the letters. I even smell the paper so I can take it in somehow. I really want to believe. Chapter 34, Birth of a Star. Keisha, Albert, and I walked to Albert's after school. Keisha and I have asked if we could come over and see his house, and he shrugged and said, okay. The whole time my hand is in my pocket, holding onto that piece of paper. Possible. Albert's house is big, but dark and dusty when we enter. There are piles of things everywhere. Not papers like our house. I mean piles of things with tubes and wires. Things I don't recognize. His mom greets us. Hey, Albert, you have guests? Her tone tells me that this never happens. Yes, I do. These are my friends, Keisha Almond and Allie Nickerson. Allie and Keisha, this is my mother, Audrey Dubois, he says, waving at each of us, and she comes over and shakes our hands. Can I get you anything to eat? She asks, sounding nervous. Albert pauses. No, thank you. We'll just go upstairs. His mom says okay as we are already following him up a skinny, twisty staircase. What kind of host, Keisha begins, doesn't allow his guests to have food? Dang it, Albert. I would have minded some. It wouldn't be logical to offer you something that doesn't exist. But she offered it to us, Keisha says. He opens his backpack and begins stacking his books on his desk like a pyramid. I can assure you that the refrigerator is quite empty. In fact, it hasn't been plugged in for a week. Oh, Keisha says, her voice getting quiet. I'm sorry, Albert. I really am. Now I know why his mom's voice sounded funny when she offered, and why he eats so much at school. Yeah, me too, I add. He turns surprised. Why? Keisha scrunches up her face, the look she gets when she can't really figure him out. Well, I say, because you don't have food. Or a refrigerator. It must be terrible to be hungry and not be able to eat, and it's probably embarrassing for you. Maybe. I mean, I think it would be, I guess. He tilts his head. Filling the refrigerator does not fall within the parameters of my responsibilities. Therefore, the lack of food therein would have no reflection upon me whatsoever. We are silenced. I don't know about Keisha, but I couldn't answer that for $1,000,000. From the looks of her, I don't think she can either. I finally lift my gaze from his face to look around his room. Just a bed, a desk, and an empty trash can. The carpet and his blankets are all dark green, but his walls have colorful posters, all science related. There's one I like the most, a picture of outer space, but with every color you can think of all swirled together with an orange glow off to the side. It's beautiful. I point at it. Albert, what is that? That is the birth of a star, the single most important thing that can happen in space. Well, the single most positive thing, anyway. It's beautiful, I say. He stares at it. Indeed it is, he says, sitting down at his desk. Keisha laughs. You're going to be a star one day, Albert. You'll do something amazing. I don't like... He shifts in his seat. I don't wish to be in the limelight. Limelight? I ask. I don't like a lot of attention. Well, you better get used to it, Albert, Keisha says, because there's no way on God's green earth that you won't have boatloads of it when you go out and cure cancer or discover another planet or something. That's my hope. I want to change the world, do something good. And then all of a sudden, I feel sad as Keisha goes on about how famous Albert will be, how he'll be written about in history books and stuff. Hey, Keisha says, poking me. Why so serious over there? I'm thinking about the things Albert and Keisha will do and how I can't even read. I can't tell them that, though, so I try to sound happier. I'm not that serious. Oh, yes, you are. Dead serious. You need to smile. I am smiling, I say. Well, someone better tell your face about it. I hesitate. Can I tell you both a secret? I ask, reaching into my pocket to touch my possible paper that I've carried since I got it. Yeah, of course. And you won't tell anyone? Yes. Now, what's the secret? We won't tell anyone, because that's what the definition of a secret is. Albert is quiet, but his head is tilted to the side. I've never really told anyone this, but I have a lot of trouble in school with reading and writing and, well, everything but math and art. Keisha laughs. That is not a secret. And then I feel terrible. And I feel my eyes beginning to sting. I start walking away, but she pulls my sleeve and pulls me back. Albert looks upset. No, that's not what I mean. I mean that we know that, but that doesn't matter to us. However, Albert says, I do wish it was easier for you. We will not share your secret. Mr. Daniel says I have something called dyslexia, which makes it hard to read letters. That's why I've been staying after school, so he can help me. Keisha's wide-eyed. Extra school? After school? That's terrible. I mean, terrible. I want to tell her I'd spend the night at school, hanging upside down in a closet, if I could just read. I don't mind. He's nice to help me. And we'll help you, Albert says. But I worry that maybe he can't help me, I say. And then I mumble, It makes me feel like I'll grow up to be a nobody. How can you say that? Keisha asks. Well, you'll probably have some big successful baking company, and Albert will do whatever in the world Albert will do, and I'm just hoping to read a menu in a restaurant. Keisha steps up and puts her arm around my shoulder. You say he's going to help you, right? You say, Albert adds, and then pauses to think, that you'll grow up to be nobody. But logically, if nobody's perfect, well then, you must be perfect. Perfect? Me? No, I say. You are pretty perfect, Allie, Keisha says, laughing. Do like Mr. Daniel says. Be yourself. Be who you are. You know, Albert says, I've wondered about that saying, and I can't ever find an answer anywhere on the internet. What do you mean? I ask. Be yourself. You always hear that. So? Keisha asks. Well, Albert begins, What if you don't know who you are? I get what he means, I think. People ask what you want to be when you grow up. I know what kind of grown-up I want to be, but I don't know who I am now. Albert stretches his legs out. There are always people ready to tell you who you are, like a nerd or a jerk or a wimp. Think how it's hard not to believe the bad stuff. Look at it this way, Albert says. If you had to be in a tank of water with a killer whale or a stonefish, which would you choose? Well, duh, who's going to choose a killer whale? Well, in the wild, killer whales never attack people. Like never. A stonefish is way more dangerous with its 13 venomous spines. It's the words. If the killer whale were called the friendly whale, nobody would be scared. And I think of words, the power they have, how they can be waved around like a wand, sometimes for good, like how Mr. Daniels uses them, how he makes kids like me and Oliver feel better about ourselves, and how words can also be used for bad, to hurt. My grandpa used to say to be careful with eggs and words because neither can be fixed. The older I get, the more I realize how smart my grandpa was. Okay, so in this chapter, instead of doing a Google form, you are going to be taking out your packet that I put together for you guys for foldables for this book. Now, we are going to be doing this page here that's called Pausing Point, I See What You Mean. If you look at the second page, there is your soup can label, if you haven't done that already. The third page says Fish in a Tree, writing prop number 7, chapters 19 through 21. We're going to skip that. I decided not to do that with you guys. So when you get to that page, ignore that one. If you want to rip it out and recycle it, you can. Otherwise, you can just keep it in there and recycle it at the end. But today's homework assignment is going to be Pausing Point, I See What You Mean. You're going to cut this out around the outside and glue the whole thing down, and you're going to write Pausing Point up at the top as your title. Now it says, good writing allows you to see the story in your mind. Create an illustration of a character and an important scene from the text. Go back and reread the section to make sure you have a clear picture in your mind. When you finish, write a caption that reflects the scene you drew and the character's role in it. So instead of doing a Google form of questions today, you are going to be finding a scene. Maybe it's the one that's the most memorable to you in the book. Maybe it's just your favorite scene. Or maybe it's one that we just read. Could be even earlier in the book. It doesn't matter. You're going to choose a scene that you're going to illustrate yourself because this is not a picture book. There's no pictures in here. But you have created a picture in your mind about what's going on in the story. So you're going to choose one scene from the book. It can be what we've read so far. And you're going to illustrate that in the box here. And then you're just going to write a one sentence at least. If not, if you want to write 2 sentences, 3 sentences, you can. But just choose at least one sentence to kind of explain what scene it is so that I know what scene it is. Okay? Cut it out around the whole outside, glue the whole thing down, and then add color to your picture as well. Okay? Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.